No problem.
Hey, just keep hanging on here a second.
It's no problem.
I've got another voice recorder app, but I don't have that many apps. I just don't only use about 5 of them at any with any frequency.
It's okay.
And maybe it will work. I remember I didn't like it when I went back to the one that came with the Apple Pro microphone.
No, that ain't gonna record. But you gotta turn on the microphone first, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna have to so do email it to me.
Okay, I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is John Captain with Richard Lovett, and we joined common goal of helping Tiffany get justice, and today's date is November 27, 2018. And the talk is recorded for the record, although I commonly interrupt and speak first and last. Please interrupt as needed for airtime. We're not professional speakers, and because of that, our words can be hard to come by as far as perfect thoughts. Therefore, if we make a mistake of something we should have spoken, we can revise that within like 24 hours by sending us a message. One example of a mistake is when I had an interview the other day, and the guy said, I said to him, Dan's a nice guy. He told the truth. What I should have said was, he told the truth, that was nice, but it comes across wrong. So therefore, we have that option. Okay, so let's go.
Okay. Yeah, no, being able to correct yourself and not getting it whacked out of context is important.
Yeah, it is, because like I said, we're not professional speakers, and therefore we're trying to come up with the right answers or the right questions at a time in which it's a unreasonable and stressful discussion in the first place, which contains a murder of someone we care about, and therefore it's likely that we will have emotion. So, okay, so you can go first, or I can, whatever you'd like.
Well, I basically offered to answer your questions, but it was clear from discussions on Messenger that there's a couple of things that you were out of the loop of and simply didn't know. So
that's certainly true. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
If you want, I can tell you about those.
Okay.
Because you definitely should know. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly. Perfectly.
So one of them, as I was mentioning to you, is that Brunel's confession got tossed.
Okay.
And you can find that, I think. If you go through the court file, you ought to be able to find the motion. I don't remember when it was. They kept rescheduling these things so many times.
Sure.
That
yeah, I heard that, and I know that. But that doesn't make his words spoken not true for him. If he speaks words during the, I know what you're saying. You're saying that therefore he could have gotten out of murder, but his words that he spoke are true, which I believe he was set up also.
No, you can use it the way you're using. I'm saying this explains why the case was plea bargained.
Well, it only explains why you think it was plea bargained, or the courts. It doesn't explain why I think it was plea bargained.
It explains why why the family agreed to a plea bargain.
Yeah, but the family's not telling the truth, or the story.
Well, I was there with them when they made that decision.
Correct, but what story was ever told is my problem. See, I believe Michelle Warden-Brosey murdered Tiffany, and is involved in the murder, and they don't.
Yeah, I'm not arguing about that. Actually, I'm not trying to argue.
No, I get that. I get that.
But people have been saying that the sentence of 18 years was pretty light, and manslaughter was pretty light, and there were reasons for that. And that is the reason. He could have walked, and the family decided that they would rather take 18 years than risk none.
Sure, I understand if that's what they were up against. But had my story been told, there would never been that discussion, because we would have had conspiracy to commit murder.
That might be. I'm not. I'm simply trying to explain why the case was plea bargained against Brunel. This doesn't have anything to do with the other two. This is the case against Brunel,
right?
Which people have understandably said he got a pretty light sentence for murder. It's also why, and I think you understood this, why it got called manslaughter, not murder. Because if you plea bargain, we had to have this explained to us by the DA, because it seemed like, what? But under measure, it's 11, right?
Yes.
In Oregon, the mandatory sentencing thing.
Right.
So if you call it murder, then it's 25 years. So if you're going to plea bargain a murder, you got to call it something other than murder. And they called it manslaughter because that has a big minimum sentence also. And then they tacked on some years with that of soft time. But that's why some of the stuff on the record looks really weird.
Yeah, and it is. And I would say that all of that is completely irrelevant to what I'm saying.
Okay.
And what I would say is that none of that's valid. None of the plea bargains or the words spoken are valid because the public and the courts were never told the truth about what really happened that night at all, and therefore there were no real charges. The discussion about you and me talking about whether they can be charged again, Michelle and Josh, is not, I believe, of course they can, because they've never been charged with what they did, which is conspiracy to commit murder. Somebody paid them to murder Tiffany.
This is possible. The discussion we've had before, and you might be right. This is something that you would have to ask a criminal lawyer with experience in the field. The question technically is this: does a conviction for a lesser included offense count as double jeopardy against the larger offense?
That would dictate.
And I don't know the answer to that. I thought I did, but you have been fairly persuasive that I might not.
The answer is, did the courts have the information that they had at the time of the original case was heard? And the answer is no. They didn't want, because my writing is erratic and whatever the story. Oh, I got messages from him that was I don't know what they said, inconsistent and erratic or something like the DA. Right. Well, that's code for I'm not going to bring it up in the court. But keep in mind that my words are often, I'm not a professional, first of all. And second of all, they're not my words. They're Tiffany's words. She knew they wanted to kill her. And so to say that those words are irrational or not reasonable, well, they're her words. Say what you want. But she had prior knowledge of her death. She knew they wanted to kill her, and she confided in me that information. Because of that, she had prior knowledge. Because she had prior knowledge she was going to die, not one part of that case that was heard was real.
Yeah, no, my question is simply, is what you want to do, which is to reopen the case and have them charged with conspiracy, is it constitutional?
Absolutely.
Because if it isn't, and I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
But that's the way that this question would get framed to a criminal attorney, the way I just put it.
Yeah, I understand. I get your point.
And because if the Constitution doesn't allow it, yeah, you get my point. If the Constitution doesn't allow it, it doesn't matter what the evidence is. The case is totally closed.
Yeah, I understand.
Even if it's not closed, accurately, it's closed. There
Right.
is a finality.
Yeah, I think that it's important that if there's a completely different narrative that's being provided by someone who has personal interest and or personal information in the case directly from the deceased person, and that's not entered into the record as any form of evidence, including her own words that she's going to die, both to me and to the bartender, well then, of course it's not legal because they never had a legal court case. That's why they were able to plea down to jaywalking, because it was never legal. And so whether they can try the case again or not, I don't know. I'm not the DA, but certainly the information that was had by me and Tiffany should have been placed on the record, and it never was.
Yeah, and as I said, I'm just talking about the very technical issue of whether or not, even if you are correct, anything can be done about it. And
Right.
I think that's a very technical constitutional
Well,
question.
the FBI has the right to try a case and pull it from the state even after convictions, and that wouldn't apply. Double jeopardy doesn't apply to FBI if it becomes federal case. Being that there were 3 states, multiple people, and a paid conspiracy to commit murder, and then of course the feds can reopen it also. The person that was in the jail cell with Daniel Burnell emailed me and said, I was in jail with him, both in Inverness, whatever it's called, Inverness, sorry, and Portland, and he told me he was paid to kill her.
Okay. Yes, you've said this. So you wanted to ask me questions.
Yes, I do. Did you know that Tiffany's killers were outside my store, circling the block 11 times total?
No.
Okay. Did you know that what's his name? Oh, shoot, sorry. Jeffrey Dickey, do you know him, by the way?
I do not know
Okay.
him. I had heard of him. I looked him up after you first started
that's
talking
fine.
about it. So
And
I know some about him.
do you know that when I went to court with Tiffany's mother, I told the judge, I have someone here that says they're going to help me understand, because I had never been to court before. I didn't have an understanding of any part of this. No procedural information, nothing. They don't even send you a brochure on how to deal with the courts. You have no clue. And the worst part of it is you're dealing with something you don't know that's going to remove your rights. But he was here, and then magically, Drew was here when I was doing my case, and Drew knew either you or her family, and clearly nobody told me how Kate was getting my personal information for her court case. And I don't know if you heard the case on audio, but she had said, he's going to ask you that question. And I'm like, how the heck does she know? And I even told the judge, how do they know what I'm going to say before I say it? And I have all this information that they're doing that to. So did you know that those two people were here the day of that trial, and did they provide her with information about what I was doing?
I did not know that anything other. I did listen to it somehow or other. Probably, I don't remember what mechanism I was allowed to listen in on, but I listened to it over the phone, and I do remember you saying you had someone with you, and I do not know who it. I did not know who it was.
Right, because I did. He didn't ask me, so I didn't tell him. He's the
I mean, you mentioned this on Facebook a couple days ago, and I was like, that was news to me.
Yeah, right, because I try to withhold certain things, because if I tell everything, all they do is turn around and try to come up with a reply to the response that I give. Not one single thing I've ever written has ever not had a response to. But anyways, okay, so, but
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
A question for you.
Yeah, please.
If I can, for just a moment.
Yeah.
Did you pay him for this?
No.
Okay, well, that's good, because he's been disbarred.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that when people lie, which he did, he lied every which way. He belongs in jail, actually, because he cheated me. He shouldn't be a lawyer. He's a cheater and a liar. But there again...
well, he got disbarred, as I understand, for cheating a client. So, yes.
Stealing, yeah. I didn't know any of that. I had never...
my sympathy on that.
Yeah, I never knew who he was. I was introduced by him by one of the people involved in this murder, which is Tyson. And she said, John, I have somebody that knows about the law. He can help you, but he's on heroin. Be careful. And I'm like, okay, what the hell does that mean? I also note that when he came into the room, he was late from telling me what was going on. I mean, it was only 30-minute whatever. But he had a phone jammer, and all of a sudden my phone started going, and that was him that caused it, or his clothes, let's say. But the problem with him is that he knows all about the Illuminati, he knows all about these cults, and he knew Tiffany. So I have a hard time believing that he's not the reason that they ended up with my paperwork prematurely of a case. Because I told him via text or whatever what I was going to say, and then she said, Kate said, he's going to talk about that, so I'm just letting you know. I'm like, that's weird. How does she know? But so that...
being Vicky?
Yes. Or Drew.
Okay, just... and when she said he's going to talk about Illuminati, is that
no, I talked to him about that, and that was, that's a whole nother discussion. But I talked to him.
I'm trying to get the context. So this is what Kate told the court?
No, Kate told the court that she's speaking here. She says, he's going to ask you about that. And I don't remember what she was talking about when she said that on the record, but I know that she had prior knowledge of everything I was going to say and do, because her words replied to it before I ever had court. So someone in my room who had access to my notes took those notes and sent them to her, period. Now, who?
Yeah, but you had been talking about Illuminati.
No, I'm not talking about the Illuminati. Hold on. I'm talking about clues to a murder, clues to a court case. Oh. Forget the Illuminati, but that's a whole other discussion. What I'm saying about the Illuminati was that he said he had knowledge about him. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about him.
I didn't think you're right.
Okay, so, but about the court case.
My understanding is that you have been talking about your clues to lots of people, so...
Not about... Wait. Not about what I was going to say in court with her. See, in other words, I don't have a lot of people. I didn't put these online, of course. So, in other words, me and you talked today, right? I didn't put my notes about what I want to ask you in the computer. So therefore, nobody should have my notes, right? The same thing is true about Kate and me going to court. When I did, those two people, Drew, who's involved in this murder, Dickie, who's involved in this murder, both of them were here. So one of those two has contact to her because she knew multiple things I was going to say about that would have no way for anybody else to know but the people that were in my office. Like, they don't know. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't remember that conversation. Hang on a second here.
No problem.
In there, but I do remember that I listened to this very much expecting that you were going to talk about your clues. And the reason the case got overturned was the judge didn't let you talk about your clues.
No. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, my rights were violated 100 times in that court case. First, let's review that for a second. When you apply for a restraining order, you're required to tell the truth. That didn't happen. Skipping that, because that's a long discussion. Number two, when you apply for one, the respondent, me, has 21 days to have to reply, but then I have 21 days to hold a hearing, right? The courts did not hold that hearing by law in 21 days. They did it in 35 days when I mailed them a letter and said, this order's not valid. You have to hold a hearing in 21 days. They didn't. The court said, too bad, the 35th day, because I wrote him a letter, we're still going to do it. And that you can't hold a hearing in 21 days. It's not valid. Now, I didn't get my ADA, which I asked for, until the last day, which is illegal. I had to have the Department of Justice make them give me my ADA. And then he said I lost because I wasn't organized. They returned my evidence by mail. Now, keep in mind, you might not know this, but I mailed all my stuff to them, and they returned it. They paid postage and said, we're not going to accept this, and sent it back. Also, as you know, I complained about it, but all the evidence you guys provided wasn't evidence of anything. It was hearsay, triple hearsay discussions between you and Kate, undated, undocumented, and unproven emails between each other. That has no validity in her court case. Her claim is specific. She said I abused her, and she didn't provide any proof of that. Now, abuse is not based on what she felt. It's based on what was said. I did not say I was going to hurt her, nor ever would I. So, I could go on for hours about the validity of that case. It was the most corrupt and ridiculous case I've ever heard.
Well, okay, I'm gonna right. If you read, I'm just saying because I read the appellate court decision, and while your attorney argued many of these other things, the appellate court limited its overturning it
to not being able to tell my proof.
Yes, exactly.
So that has nothing to do with murder.
Send it back so you could do so.
No. They reversed it, but no.
Your case.
Okay, hold on. First of all, when you apply for a court of appeals, you limit your application based on what you want, right? You could have 100 things or 2. Financially, you better pick a few. I didn't even pick any of those. The ones I wanted to pick, he didn't use. So he writes the court of appeals based on a few of his responses, and he writes to them, for an appeal. Now, that's not all of them, or even remotely half of them. That's what he wrote. And they choose to overturn it in their wording how they do. That has nothing to do with you or I. The case was not legal. Now, let me ask you a question. If you don't hold a hearing in 21 days, it's not valid, right?
I don't know. The court didn't get to that, and I don't. That's what it. All I'm trying to say is you won because of the reasons the appellate court said, and I knew when the judge. I listened to this, and when the judge shut you down, as he did, I knew he made a mistake, and I was not at all surprised that you won the appeal.
But I wasn't asking him about Tiffany's murder, which I believe not to be solved. I was asking him to give me time to respond to each and every one of the items that were sent as evidence.
Yes, and he didn't let you, and that was his mistake.
But you said that it was overturned because I wanted to talk about the case of Tiffany.
No, it was overturned, I said, because I think, you could play this back, it's what I certainly meant to say. I said because you were not allowed to.
Allowed to what?
To present your case.
What case?
Your case for why you should not be restrained.
Right. I wanted to review her evidence, not Tiffany's murder.
But everybody in that room knew that you were going to talk about the clues because that's what you had been taught.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I could. Right. An example would be. Yeah.
Suspect is not the word I want. Reason to think that that's what you were going to do without having been told by Dickie. I do not know if they know Dickie. I'm just trying to apply Occam's razor.
Sure. Well, I could have picked any page out of the evidence that was provided and said, that's not evidence. Your guys' talks to each other are not evidence in any case at all. And it's not setting up where they say you could show something before if it's, as long as it's related. None of it was. It was you and her talking. That's not valid. And anyways, but my point is, what I was going to say can't be determined by somebody in a room guessing, and I wasn't having any intentions upon talking about the case. I asked the judge. He said, well, she blocked you and you went around another way. I said, wait. I blocked her. And he goes, well, I'm just reading what I read, and says she blocked you. No, I blocked her. And can I show you? It's in her own writing. You could prove it. Not mine, hers. It says, he got mad, so he blocked me. So I just wanted to show him the evidence. But if they're going to present 500 pages of evidence, I should be allowed to respond to 500 pages of evidence.
But we're in agreement that the court goofed. I knew the court, as I said, I knew the court goofed the moment I heard the judge do it.
Well, another example of goof is that when I sent my evidence, they returned it.
Yeah. Well, that one, right, you've said that. But to overturn the case, all it takes is one goof.
Correct. And you could have 500, but one is reasonable. Yeah, well, there's about 500 big ones. But, I mean, for example, the order expired in 1 year, right?
I think so.
Right. It's a 1 year order. It's a 1 year order, and it expired.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right. I kind of remember that.
In order for it to be valid, 21 days before the expiration date of the 1 year, you must apply, and you must get it renewed, right?
Yeah, I don't know the deadlines on that, but that would be what I would
expect. Before the date of expiration, you must apply and receive an extension.
Yeah.
This
but
court...
It was under appeal at that time, so I have...
my appeal has nothing to do with the validity of that until it's heard.
Yeah, but I mean, it was under appeal at the extension time, and that would I just have no idea what complex rule that triggers.
Nothing.
That's all. I just don't know.
I know, but I'm telling you. And then in addition to that, after that 1 year expires, it's expired, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Expired a long time ago. Yeah.
But no. I'm saying after the 1 year is expired, that order is expired.
Yes, it was moot by the time the.
I'm not saying that. I'm not talking about 2 years. I'm talking about after the 12th month has been passed and it becomes 12 months and 1 day, that order is therefore expired.
Okay.
They didn't. They said, too bad. Because I mailed them a letter at the 365 days plus, let's say, for 3 months, 2 months, something like that. And they said, too bad. That's illegal. And they know it's illegal, but they didn't care. They weren't trying to follow the law. They were trying to stop me from my freedom of movement and put an order on me to control my posting or whatever the goal was. It doesn't even matter what the goal was. But the order expired in the 365th day period. There's no exceptions for that. There's no further law that says, and if you have a bad day that week, you can go ahead and renew it later. It just doesn't have that. It says it expires in 365 days, period. They didn't. They waited 2 months to renew it, and they didn't even hold a hearing for it. They just did. That's not legal.
I don't know.
I know, I do. I'm the one that read it. I got the email. No, it's still good. We just renewed it yesterday. This is February or whatever. Let's say if it was a calendar year. How are you going to renew it? It's already expired. Too bad. But that's what happens.
I don't know. All I know that might complicate it is the fact that it was under appeal at the time.
Absolutely not. My appeal has nothing to do with that court. That court has no ins or outs about my own application for a reversal at all. Everything still remains exactly the same, period. Okay, so anyways, we're on with that. So the killers were outside my store on my cameras, and the police did not get that evidence. What do you think about that?
I don't. Did you hand this evidence to the police?
I don't think I have that option. I did call them a few times and tell them, and I did post it, and I did tell her mother, and I did tell you. However, the police, only police officer I spoke to after the murder, well, I guess we could talk about that, how exactly it happened, if that's appropriate. But no, I didn't hand them anything because they didn't ask me for anything, which I found very odd day one, and it began to make me think, these people are corrupt.
Right. I do not know why they did not want to see the stuff from your cameras.
Do you think they should have had a copy of that when there was a murder?
I am not an investigative police officer. I know that I'm sounding waffly on here. I don't know why they didn't pursue it. If I'm going to make a guess, it's because they're understaffed, and felt they had the case closed.
How could they feel the case closed when they didn't even know who the killers were yet, really?
Yeah. When are you talking? When did you know? I didn't hear you talking about this until way.
Well, that's true. I take that back. Hold on. You're right about that. I did not say I had the killers on video because I didn't know who they were.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't have that. I said I had video of her coming and going and Tyson flashing her lights as if to flash someone. But I didn't know who Dickie was yet. So when I saw him on my video, he didn't mean anything to me. Or Michelle Warden-Brosie's car 11 times. Or, the person she lived with, Tony Green. All of these people, I knew Tony, but I didn't even see that until I found out that there was a big meeting across the street at 11, and everybody left at 12. But with that said, the police. Okay, so if I'm the suspect initially, which I have no problem with the ideology behind that, possibly I could be the ex-boyfriend and I killed her. Okay, I get that. But at some point, there's an obligation to the police to tell the truth and or collect the evidence that can be presented in court. If I tell them I have video cameras outside my store and they don't want the video, it includes Tiffany driving by in a taxi cab to arrive at my home, that's weird.
I don't know about weird, but I do know that it's obvious that by that time they thought they had everything they needed.
This was October 9th. This was October 9th. 48 hours approximately after she was dead, when the police came here to interview me during the day.
And you told them you had video?
Yeah, of course. I the one that tried to talk them into coming to my office. We were in my house at the time. And I said, hey, no, you guys need to check this out. And they're like, whatever. I also asked them, did you check her Google Voice? And their response was, what's that?
I can't answer for what was going on in their minds, John. Sorry.
I understand. But I just wanted to let you know that the killers were outside my store, circling the block that night, along with Jeff Dickey, along with Drew, a.k.a. Crystal Joy Andrews, and Amber, and the killer, and that I believe, most importantly about this whole thing I'm saying, is that if that evidence was provided to the courts and the public, and or the bar video somebody besides them could see, then it would tie it together because they would all be wearing the same outfit. In other words, the killer's striped sweatshirt that he wore walking by my store, I believe he was still wearing at the bar. That's why I want to see the video.
So my question for you on this is, do you have better quality images of those videos than the ones you put online?
Well, I think first of all, that's third generation, and the answer would be yes, I do.
Okay, that explains because they just like, I've looked at them and it's like those could be anybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, it would sure help if we have the video from the bar, right? Because we could match up the sweatshirts.
I wouldn't be able to do that off your third quality images. I can barely tell whether they're male or female.
Okay, well, an example would be
your third generation images. That explains why they're so bad. I was like, what kind of security camera is this that produces fuzz like that?
Right. Well, yeah, I agree. And the other thing that you might not be aware of is that so I'm posting right now on Facebook. You can see one of them as an example. This is Jeff Dickey. As an example, I went to get them enhanced 3 times, but somehow the people that want to stop me were able to stop me, and the companies refused to do it. And keep in mind that out of the 5,800 things I've tried to do, 5,799 were stopped. And prior to the murder, I had not one single problem. So it's not me. It's, when you send a DVR to have it digitally analyzed, there is no problem in them doing it until somebody stops me. So I have evidence that will prove Tiffany was set up and killed on my DVR alone. That doesn't even cover the other stuff. And they don't care. If they did, they would provide me with the video. See, I'm going to post one. I don't know if you have access to watch both at the same time while you talk, but I'm going to post one now of the Amber Thornburg and the killer walking by my store the night she died, the night Tiffany was murdered. Now, is it random that Amber is with the killer and I know her and you know her and she's involved in this case? That's pretty weird. Now, what do you mean there was dispute? Did somebody claim that I had her bags other than the police?
Well, wait a second. I thought you said that people said she left bags, but she didn't leave bags. Isn't that what you're saying?
The police said she left bags, and I said...
That's the dispute. And you said she didn't.
No, it's a lie. There's a difference. See, because not only did I not say she did, but he never asked me if she did because I never thought of that. So in other words, if you're interviewing me and you're a police officer, right? He's lying.
Mm-hmm.
He said, he didn't, not only did I not say anything about bags, so I didn't even get the question, right? So I'm interviewing you and I'm a cop, right? Rick, did Tiffany leave any bags at your house? Now I've asked it. He didn't ask. And I didn't say it. Why would I? Because he didn't ask, right? So when the officer came that night, he said 3 things that were absolute lies. Not mistakes, not embellished, but lies. In other words, he said it, but it wasn't true. He said, John said she left bags at his house. October 9th, this was said, right?
I've totally lost
the night of...
He said this to you at your house?
No. The night of the murder, then the next day... okay, so slow down here. The officer came after I called the police, not Mercedes, but me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what you said. Yeah.
Well, no, it's true, because here's how that happened. Mercedes called me on the phone and said, John, have you seen Tiffany? And I said, no, why? And she was hysterical. She said, because the bartender's really worried about her. She said some weird stuff, and on the news, and she was typing into Facebook at the time. And at some point, she said, it says rest in peace on her Facebook. She says, Tiffany's dead. And I started crying and freaking out. And by that time, I got to my computer because she said somebody was hurt at Blue Lake Parker dead. And I found the article written. I called the phone number on my phone, my old cell phone, and I put her on hold. The operator said, you know, can I help you? I said, this is Tiffany's ex-boyfriend, or we have boyfriend, I don't remember. And I was crying. And I said, and she goes, slow down, sir. So I repeated it. I said, I have a girl on the other line that was at the bar that night and might have more information about what happened, but I have no clue what's going on. I put her on 3-way, and she told her the address, but I called the police. Now, do you think it's odd that the police never acknowledged that I called the police, not Mercedes?
I think there's a good deal of confusion over this, is what I think. And that's why I tried to just say that's what you said. I don't know why there's some confusion. There's certainly no reason for anybody to lie about it.
So if somebody was an abusive ex-boyfriend set up on a murder, would it be good for him to call the police?
Probably not. No,
okay.
First of all, I don't think you were set up on the murder. You were the suspect. We both agreed on that.
Right. I think I was.
But I don't think anybody set you up because
okay.
I don't think anybody knew who you were.
Okay, so based upon the explanation I just gave you, which I would say under oath, of course, of how that transpired that I learned about Tiffany's death, do you believe I called the police or Mercedes?
I'm willing to take you at your word on it, if that's what you're meaning.
The 911 call would represent it.
I don't know why the police report says something different from what you're saying, but you've got no reason to lie about this. So
right. There's no benefit, and you're right.
I don't care who called the police.
I do. Because the records don't reflect the truth. And
if somebody called the police and you were involved in Mercedes, from the police perspective, the primary thing that happened there was that they were able to trace her to the bar. And without that, they wouldn't have gotten anything.
Yeah.
Who knows what would happen.
It's important that the record be reflected in correctness, and it's not. I called the police, and it should be said that. Also, it should be said that I was a victim, probably the most affected out of everybody, if not, I'm not trying to, it's not a game to see who's first, but for the DA not to provide victims assistance is absolutely ludicrous.
I got nothing much to say about that other than the fact that
was I a victim?
No, where you were not currently. See, am I going to defend that them on that, or you were not currently her boyfriend? Furthermore, I have no idea whether boyfriends and girlfriends count if they're not married. I just don't know where they.
Was I affected by the outcome of this murder?
Oh, yes, you were. I'll tell you why you didn't get assistance. Never mind. What exactly type of assistance do you think they would have given you if they'd given it to you?
Well, the first thing they should provide is respect, which they didn't. Second would be the right to be heard, which they didn't. And the third is not to be barred from a court case, which is legal, and they didn't. And I would have asked for maybe some explanation of what happened and some counseling, whatever they offer. I don't know. When you've never been subjected to a murder, you rely on the government to help you because it's a horrific thing, and they didn't do anything that they should have done.
So the one thing I can tell you, and we will disagree on this, but you were not barred from the courtroom. The judge in the restraining order was very clear about that. Whether he got into writing or not, I don't know.
No.
The writing was sloppy.
Hold on. That's not true, because you have to look at the dates in which those events happened. In the initial court case, when Kate was laughing in court, and she applied for the restraining order, he talked to her about it. That's not me, and I wasn't privy to that information. When I received his order, the order was clear, and so therefore I was not allowed to go to the court case. In my response to his clear wording, I said, "You don't have that authority." That's when but keep in mind, my response is not law, it's my response. It's not based on him.
Yes, but he agreed with you.
But that was that.
He initially started murdering people away.
No, he never said. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me rephrase.
Let me finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. He was initially going to write an order that would have barred you from the courtroom.
He did.
You protested. He heard you and agreed that you couldn't be barred from the courtroom. And the order told you to keep 30 feet away from her and then there was even an if on that, which is if the size of the room permitted. So.
Well, it was very iffy, and
He said you had the right to go to the court.
only when I responded to his words. Keep in mind, my words are not law, only his are.
Right, but when he agreed with them, they became the order.
Well, that's still open for interpretation, because the initial order, he didn't say, "I'm changing the order." He said whatever he said, which the first time
this is where your guy Dickie really let you down.
Dickie didn't tell me what to do. I talk on my own.
Right, but he could have explained that to you.
He can't explain nothing. He's in on the murder.
You won that argument with him, and he was in the process of framing the order. You objected. You basically did what a lawyer would do when they object. You objected, and he granted your. He granted your request. You won that. Now he then wrote down probably a really fast scribbled. The documentation on that was terrible. But everybody associated with this knew that you were permitted in that courtroom under that order, including the DA.
I 100% disagree, but that's neither here nor there. That's my opinion.
I was there. We were expecting to see you.
Well, I was barred from the courtroom based on the initial order. I asked for that to be removed, and whether you think it was or wasn't, I don't know. I don't think it was.
It was removed. You mean not? You didn't understand that it was removed.
That's right. That's right.
For you.
Yes.
It was removed.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. Now, keep in mind, Dickie and what's her name, Drew, are both part of this murder, and they were here stealing documents. That's important.
This is what you say. I don't know that they were part of this murder.
Right. Nobody does, because there's no investigation.
I don't know that they were stealing documents.
Kate knew what I was going to say. How did she have my documents? She had an email I sent to the senator. How did she have that? Or Chip Shields, whatever his name is. How did she get my email?
I have no idea.
That's my point. They stole them. They're the only people I allowed in my office. I don't allow people to come in here and just hang out. They have to know me. And that when I was working on the case, I was focused on that. They were the only ones here, and Amber. So one of those three. But here's my point. When you have facts to a murder that are coming up missing, and nobody's doing the original investigation, then, of course, you're going to be concerned about not only your safety, but what's going on. I told the judge, I don't want to send you the stuff because somehow Kate is getting my documents. And he said, well, you had time to send whatever. So that was too late. Okay? But, so that's that. As far as we were talking before we started on a tangent about the flight to Pendleton, right?
Okay.
And we said that, she didn't pay till she got there, but that's a typo error. And I said that whether she was there or not, I don't even have reason to believe that, but whatever. But about the bags, right? The written documents about her travels oddly have bags, every other paragraph spoken. As that
they were quite intrigued by her number of bags. There's no question about that.
There's only 4 bags.
I thought they said 5, but
okay, well, let's say there's 5. There's a purse, a handbag, and then a series of other, like maybe 2 real bags. But my point is,
I don't know. Okay, Tiffany came over to your place a few times,
yeah,
and I certainly picked her up a few times when she was traveling around town, and the year before that, and she would be on the. She would have a mountain of bags.
Yeah.
So
they talked about these bags.
They were using that just that everybody who saw it was impressed by the size and number of bags.
So they talked about the bags 10 times, right? Do you find it odd that the police report written on October 9th said she left bags at John's house when she didn't?
That would seem to be some kind of an error. It would be interesting to know, and if it come to trial, one probably would know. I mean, a lot of this stuff was buried in evidence files that never came to trial. You are right about that. It would be interesting to know how many bags were recovered at the hotel.
Well, what's important, though, is not even anything to do with the actual bags itself, but that the officer lied and wrote that she left bags at my house, and then, weeks later, it's all about bags.
When did it become all about bags weeks later?
In the arrest warrant affidavit.
Oh, they were just citing all that stuff that they'd written. I am going to guess again on this, but I'm a writer. I know how this works. If you write something once and you need something related to it again, you just grab the same prose off your computer and reuse it.
Right, I believe that.
So they just grabbed their notes and polished them up for the arrest warrant, and didn't waste hours and hours of time, reorganizing.
Okay, let me say this. Does it bother you that the police officer that came to my home on October 9th lied 3 times to me?
What did he lie about?
He lied and said that I told him Tiffany has left bags at my home. That's a lie. I never said that. She never did. And we never talked about bags. The second thing he said that's a lie is that, and I think you would know this from your own experience dealing with me, that I asked him if I needed a lawyer. I'm like, I'm not going to ask a cop if I need a lawyer to talk about my ex-girlfriend's murder. Are you crazy? I would have never asked a cop that, and you'd have to be insane to ask somebody questioning you if you need a lawyer. You would know, I know when I need a lawyer, right? And even my own lawyers I don't listen to, so it doesn't matter. But I never asked him if I needed a lawyer, but he wrote that I did. That's a lie. And the third thing he lied about was that me and Tiffany, he said, I told him, that me and Tiffany did not have sex. That's not at all what I said. I said I didn't come. I never said we didn't have sex. I said we did have sex. And he wrote, I didn't. Those 3 are absolute, complete lies.
They 2 of them look like errors in note-taking. I have no idea about the third. I mean, there's a difference between... like with the bags, he may have been told by somebody. There are a lot of people involved in this.
No, wait though. There wasn't yet. Huh? There wasn't yet, because keep in mind, we got to follow the dates here. I had just called the police.
By the way, he legally can lie to you, although he can't lie on his report.
Right, right. That's important. And it's important that we all know, in my opinion only, he lied. Not embellished or, just kind of exaggerated. He absolutely lied. And let me tell you the dates and how this worked.
He appears to have gotten some things wrong, especially about the bags. There's a difference between getting something wrong and a lie.
Okay, but he had no knowledge of anything about this case yet.
But it's possible that somebody else told him something, and he was working on that.
I don't know how that's possible, because he was called by me and then arrived at my home thereafter, minutes later.
But when was this?
This was October 9th at 2:20 a.m., about 2 hours after about 2 hours after I told them that Tiffany was at the bar. Or I told them that I had Mercedes on the other line, and then Mercedes said, she was at the bar last night, da-da-da. He came to me, Officer Johnson of Portland Police, 2 hours after I called the police, about 11, I think it was, when Mercedes called me, responding to the call that was made, and 10 cops went to the bar and 1 to me, and he asked me a series of questions and asked me to identify Tiffany's body, or Tiffany's clothes on a flip phone, and I said, yeah, that looks like her, and then he asked me some questions, and I told him the answers to them, and the 3 things that he wrote that were not true. Now, I just want to say that...
But when would they have started tracing her from Pendleton, where you don't believe she was, through Portland? I would assume...
They couldn't have known yet. I mean, they didn't know, they didn't have the bar information yet.
Yeah, but they knew who she was immediately, so they would have been... And she paid for everything on that card. So they would have been able to trace her motions really quickly.
Okay, well, anyways...
Before they even met you.
I get that.
So they may have already been fixated on
Well,
names.
there were 3 things I believe are lies. Okay, let me say something before I forget. ATM card. Do you know 2 people said that they saw her dead holding her ATM card before the family even knew who she was?
Yes, I heard that.
Okay, don't you think that should have been investigated?
I don't know whether it was or wasn't.
Do you know that Leanne Tiedman was reported going to somebody's home and said, John killed Tiffany at Blue Lake Park today? And that person emailed me and said it, and that Leanne went to his house banging on his door at approximately 8 a.m. and said, Tiffany's dead, her boyfriend did it.
I knew that people immediately blamed you.
No, but I'm talking about Tiffany died at whatever time, and she was spotted or called in on at 7:21 in the morning, right?
I think what you're discovering is that I have not spent as much time studying.
Right. Well, let me just tell you, they called the 911 at 7:21 in the morning. Police arrived about 7:30. Do you find it odd that somebody that I'm telling you is involved in this murder went to somebody's home at 8 a.m., which was 30 minutes later, saying, John Captain killed Tiffany at Blue Lake Park?
I find that the world is full of odd things, and that's about as far as I'm going to go.
Okay, fine.
And that this would have been one of the things that I don't know.
Okay, let me ask this. Tiffany
was given where she was. Her body would have been found immediately.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm only asking about Leanne Tiedman.
I don't know her.
Okay, fine.
I've never met
She's a
her.
friend of
I've talked to her
Tiffany's.
online.
She's a friend of Tiffany's. She's a friend of
Yes, I know who
Tiffany's.
she is.
And
I've talked to her online,
and she's
but
best
I'm
friends with Tony.
not of anything.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fine. Tiffany lived with Tony Green, correct?
that's my understanding.
And Tony Green is who she emailed me was going to kill her. And I showed you the text, right?
That's my understanding. Yes.
And Tony Green car was circling my store the night that she died here. I have his car, and it's parked in his house.
And I would add that the people who the 2 women who were investigating this agree with you on that. But I look at those videos and I just see a car.
Well,
I can't tell one car from another.
Well, anybody.
I can tell a VW Beetle.
Okay. Anybody who wants to know is welcome to come here and look. I'm just pointing out the fact that the police didn't want to know and they didn't look. And so it doesn't matter how good a quality your video is or how poor it is. In addition to that, you can enhance the video nowadays to make it even clearer. But clues like Biko telling me it was him, that's clear. Or clues like the killer walking by my store in a striped sweatshirt. And if the police would like to give me a photo of the bar, then I could certainly match the 2 up very easily. But, okay, so Tiffany lived with Tony, right? The police did not search her home. The police did not search her telephone. Don't you think in a murder investigation, the first thing they would do is search her phone for texts or emails?
I would assume so.
Okay.
How do you know they didn't?
Because I know. I read the paperwork. Okay, so in addition to that, the police didn't collect a copy of the email coming from...
I thought they sent the phone off to the lab. It was locked.
No, they didn't know how to send it. It was locked. But I find it funny, too, they didn't put the serial number of that phone on the police report, but they did on the other one. But anyways, so what was I going to tell you? That the police didn't do the phone, and that I received an email from Tiffany that said, and here we go about the bags, I have my bags, I'll see you at 9, and all capital letters, I'm going to kill you. I have guns, I'm going to kill you, in all capital letters. Now, one of the guys online, which is, clearly lying, because I took a photo of that email, and it can't be altered, right? A photo can't be altered in such a way, and I have no reason to lie about what Tiffany said to me out of her account. But at 3:23 to 4 p.m. on the 7th, rather, while she was leaving Bend, Oregon, Troutdale, or whatever it was, Pendleton, I got emails that says, I have guns, I'm going to kill you, in all capital letters. Don't you think that they would have found that if they checked my email or of Tiffany's emails, that she had sent that to me, or someone did in her account?
I don't know how they find those things. I don't know. When did you try to show that stuff to the police?
I've been trying to show everybody, including you.
Yeah, no, when did you first start showing that to the police?
The day they came here to investigate the murder.
Okay.
I have never held back. Excuse me? What?
From the beginning.
Every single clue that I have, I've given the day I've gotten them, period, no matter what. And the idea that I wasn't is ludicrous. But I get the idea that in order to achieve two goals, one, to not recognize what I have as evidence, they just don't answer my calls, but I recorded them. I recorded my calls. So I know for sure what I did and what I said. Since day one, I have said, I have clues to murder, and nobody showed up.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that has happened, and I'm going to try to give you this as a compliment, but I'm not sure you're going to take it as this, is that you have gotten a lot better at writing and at organizing what you're saying than you were in those first terrible weeks after her death.
I know.
And so a lot of what you were saying didn't make a lot of sense to anybody.
Right.
And so you got dismissed because of that. That I'm sure of.
Well, I know for sure that if my sister or daughter was killed and somebody said they had clues, I would send one. In fact, I even specifically asked them to send someone to...
See, you're not... what I'm trying to tell you...
No, I get what you're saying. I know. I have gotten better. I agree. Because I have to write so people can read it.
And back then, you were kind of... Yeah, it was really hard for anybody to figure out what you were talking about.
Yeah, well...
And so I think the police got tired of that and gave up on you.
Well, I never got to tell the police.
The DA initially thought you'd make a good witness.
Well, I don't think so. The DA lied, and now he's the judge, and so clearly my life is even more at risk now when I have people that are not on the same page as me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. I'm going to try.
I think that most of the people you think are lined up against you are perfectly happy to just do their own thing and let you do yours.
Well, then I don't know if that's true because
that's why you're not going to get. That's why you can't get some of them to talk to you because they don't want. They're it's been 5 years and they're just willing to let you do your thing.
Okay, that's good. I understand. Well, but keep in mind, since day one, I've been saying the same exact thing.
Okay, and I'm just telling you that one of the reasons you didn't get listened to early on by the police is that you've learned how to say it more calmly, and it took you long enough to do that. And again, I understand the level of emotion in there that they concluded you had nothing. I think I wasn't in their heads. I can't be in their heads.
Sure, I understand.
But you weren't making any sense, and I did hear that from various people. And
yeah, I think they're lying, but that's okay.
Trying to figure it out.
No, I understand, but they never asked, right? Not once.
Well, that's probably because they got tired of trying to figure it out, and you were calling them all the time anyway.
Well, I called the DA once.
I mean, I understand why you were.
People that are a victim of a murder, or that they have a loved one that's been murdered, are supposed to get victims assistance, so they're able to process what has happened. Because the DA chose not to do that, then okay, here, let's see. Then that causes more issues. The law is clear. People who are materially witness or affected by the murder, or crime like that, they're supposed to get victims assistance. That was not offered to me because of a fake and lying police report written about domestic violence. Tiffany was never a victim and never came here and was a victim of domestic violence. She broke into my store and charged a girl saying she was going to kill her. I grabbed her, held her.
Do you have the statute on who gets victims assistance in Oregon?
Excuse me? What?
Do you have Do you have a copy of the statute on who gets victims assistance in Oregon? I have no idea if you qualify. I don't know if anybody's ever. I know I've never asked the question online. I've never Googled it.
I've read about it 100 times. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, let's see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I'm now going to power up my computer, so we're going.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you.
I don't. Pardon me. I've got a heater running in the background that's making noise. I'm going to shut it off till I freeze.
Okay.
Eventually, we're going to have to call this because I got to get lunch. But let's. I don't know. By the way, I asked you what you thought you were going to get from it. You wouldn't have gotten any financial assistance.
I was never asking anybody for a dime.
Right. I was just like because I know that Tiffany's family didn't get much. They got paid their out-of-pocket expenses.
How much did they get paid total? How much did they get paid total?
I don't know. I never asked, but they didn't stay in a fancy hotel.
No, I was just wondering how much they got total. That's all. I was just wondering how much they got.
I don't know, but they made several trips across the state, and so they got reimbursed for their gas and their time.
Yeah.
Or not their time. They did not get reimbursed for their time.
I just wanted to know how much they got.
They got travel expenses.
I just want to know how much they got.
Government rate, which we all know is low, and I don't know what it would be. But they did not make any money off that. They just didn't have to pay.
I have no idea. I had to pay.
And if they paid you, it would have been, a max ticket downtown or parking.
Yeah, I didn't want any money. I wanted the truth told.
Right. But I know. I was just telling you that there's not that in terms of the money, because you have talked about that, and there was not a lot, and it was just all out of pocket reimbursements for things that they submitted receipts for, and they weren't staying in fancy places.
Okay, I know. So in terms of
so let me Google this.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, in terms of a victim, do you believe that I was a victim of this in this murder?
I'm just looking that up right now. I guess that's what I'm
right. Okay, I see.
Technology is a victim of this. I mean,
well, emotionally affected.
Crime, Oregon Department of Justice.
Did Tiffany love me, or did Tiffany care about me at all, or did she hate me?
I think she went back and forth.
Was she scared of me? Was she scared of me?
She expressed it on occasions.
Really?
But then she went back to you. I think that you. I think she went back and forth on these things. So,
do you think she's a victim of mind control?
Sure of is that you love her.
Do you think she was a victim of mind control?
No.
Do you think that the doctor in which she saw broke the law?
No.
Do you think that we should know who he
By the
is?
way, I will explain this because he was not a licensed therapist.
Doesn't matter. He was paid for one.
No, he's not paid as one. He was paid as...
No, it's not legal. He was paid for...
Oregon, I looked this up.
No.
Oregon allows anybody to be a therapist.
Absolutely
and
not.
money for it.
And also, he said, when you used to see me the other time as a patient, he's her patient. She said to him, that's why I, came to you for assistance. And he says, I'm not, they're in their office, and she paid on her credit card, right? What's his name?
It's not the guy, it's not Weedman.
I have no idea, because it's on her Visa card. I was trying to find out.
I don't know what's on her Visa card.
That's all that matters.
It was posted. You have been on threads where his name was posted.
But I don't have no proof of that at all.
About him and something that gets him a bunch of phone calls.
Well, but this is a murder. Oh, I disagree 100%.
Yeah, I know. He definitely did not break. I mean, whether he gave her good therapy or not, what was clear on this, and was what led the I call them bloggers because that's what they were, to track him down. Was
I don't believe that for a minute.
Talking Chinese philosophy.
No.
And so he was giving her
that's not legal.
A Taoist, I think it would probably be, or Taoist, however that's pronounced, explanation for her life. And so he was essentially doing religious counseling.
Yeah, but whatever he said, it wasn't legal. And also, I find it odd that they won't release his name because they're protecting him.
Yeah, because Weedman got a pile of death threats.
Well, then they should have provided the proof who it was. They have it on their Visa card. She has it.
Well,
She has the
yeah,
evidence.
they do, but you'd have to get them to do that. And
But
I'm sure they won't.
but this is for a murder. This is not for some guy down the road. If they don't care about Tiffany, then they won't provide it. And if they do, it's part of a murder investigation. He had knowledge of her up and coming death.
Yeah, you're taking that off that therapy account, and what it sounds more like was he saw her as, if you treat that as religious Eastern medicine stuff, then a lot of the things he's saying suddenly makes sense.
Did you see the report I had done by the guy that teaches the Department of Justice and the FBI?
No.
He said it's the worst he's ever seen. The guy belongs in jail.
Okay, but I haven't seen the report.
Right.
But belongs in jail for what?
Because he's a criminal for what he said and did in terms of not reporting her because she said she was going to shoot herself in the head, for one. She was going to die. Then she went on to say that her life was in danger and she was worried about what was going to happen. And he said only, don't tell anybody who you are to make your target get shot at first. And then she was shot. And also she said, don't tell anybody about this. And then he says, you'll get the answers when you die. All of that relating to the idea that, and then she goes, what she explains what's going to happen. He goes, watch it. You're going to watch it with me. And he goes, I am going to watch it with you. And she says, not going to be on TV and vampires. And it's like, okay. So what knowledge did he have about her up and coming death, and what obligation does he have to notify the police if somebody tells you they're going to die?
Now, I do not know whether a person he's not a licensed therapist.
He was paid for one.
But it doesn't matter.
He's a doctor. He doesn't have the legal authority to not respond appropriately based on the fact that he's licensed in Oregon as a doctor.
He's not an MD.
Doesn't matter what kind of doctor. He's a licensed doctor, meaning he understands the difference between giving somebody a shot of penicillin versus talking to somebody versus
So two things. What you're dealing with here is the question of who is a mandatory, or maybe it's mandated as a term, reporter. I do not know if he was a licensed therapist. He definitely is. However, he only has to report. Again, you can look this up online.
I have. I've read it a million times.
Credible. I mean, if he doesn't believe it, if he doesn't believe that she's suicidal, then he doesn't have to report it.
Well, I don't believe that. It's not up to him to believe it or not. It's that she said it. And second of all, we don't even know who he is.
No, it's not. If you go to someone and joke about it, and they conclude that you're joking, for example, they don't have to have you locked up for 3 days for observation. If they believe that you're joking, it has to be a reasonably. There's some word about credible.
Did you know that Tiffany was in the psycho ward in 2007?
No.
Mental hospital.
Where? What? Can you give me details?
Salem, I believe. I don't know.
As in an alcohol treatment program?
No. Mental hospital.
No, I did not have any idea of that.
Okay. Did you know she was at my house that night?
Do you have documentation of that?
I don't know. Not necessarily. Okay. Back to the therapist. They have the documentation of who he is. The only documentation everybody needs is the visa slip.
Yeah, but you've asked for that a gazillion times, and they're not. I mean, they're not releasing her, and they don't. They have no obligation to give it to you.
But why wouldn't they help the murder investigation?
Because they don't want to deal with you.
Okay.
Sorry, that's fine. Basically it.
Yeah.
You know that.
Right. Well, then why didn't they clear my name when I asked them to, so that I could stop the murder investigation?
Did you ask them to, or was it?
Well, I asked you to tell them because I don't talk to them.
They said that they weren't responsible.
Oh, that's no problem then. I just keep going.
If they knew who had done it,
of course they're going to say no.
Cut it out and to reverse it, and they said it wasn't us.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I know.
mean, that's
I know what
as
you're
far
saying.
as I can go with that.
Sure, I understand. No problem. I understand. I get that. Okay, so anyways, a victim.
Besides that, you're thinking you're suggesting the people who are in your office. So
About what?
well, never mind.
I was suggesting the people in my office were providing information to other people. That's illegal. And also that they were here on incorrect or unfair merits, if you will. They weren't helping me. They were hurting me. That's why I kicked them out. But I didn't know at the time that they were part of the murder. Drew is part of the murder. A victim, by definition, means any person determined by the prosecuting attorney to have suffered direct financial, psychological, or physical harm as a result of a crime. And in the case of victim who is a minor,
Oh, so you found it. Good. I hadn't gotten very far yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the prosecuting attorney. Yes,
attorney.
Correct. And so that's
yeah,
that.
So there's a lot of discretion.
Sure. I understand.
And the prosecuting attorney probably did not want to have you and the family fighting all the time.
But it doesn't go by that. It just talks about.
Huh?
No, I totally understand. But as far as my recommendation would be for other people that go through this, anytime you have a murder, all the people that are involved, and clearly I was, but not according to her mom, I was personally involved in Tiffany's life. And she confided in me that she was going to be killed. So clearly I am and my feelings towards her, I was a victim of this case. In my opinion, they should have offered multiple things to make it reasonable for me to deal with. Of course, it's hard to deal with somebody that's dealing with murder. I've never dealt with one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but no, I'm just like, okay, that puts the discretion with the prosecuting attorney, and you and Jennifer in the same room for time after time after time during that would not have been something he would have wanted to do. So that's what happened. Yeah,
that's totally fine, but that doesn't stop the idea that they should have provided multiple other things. I didn't have to necessarily go to the court case, and I probably pretty much did in benefit of them.
Like what? I'm sorry.
Well, like collect my evidence.
Oh, that's different from me. That's a totally different thing.
No, but that's part of the rights of it, the right to be heard. That wasn't ever happened. I never got to tell my side.
The right to be heard has to do with the rights to make a statement.
Sure.
Like Kate and the brothers did.
Sure.
And Jennifer did at the sentencing. I think that's what that refers to.
Right.
If you had asked for that, I don't know what would have happened.
And not only that, I didn't even know it existed. So therefore, I learned along the way.
Yeah, I don't know what would have happened if you'd asked for it. You might well have been given it.
I wanted to say too that I have 3 or 4 police reports here that have incorrect information, and it's important that the public or you or whoever, they know that building a case based on lies or predicated words spoken. I mean, Bill Martine, for example, who knew Michelle Warden-Brosey and is the connection for Tiffany to Michelle Warden-Brosey, he wrote a fake email that he said I sent to Elmer's. I did not send that, and I didn't say it. It said something about Tiffany's the love of my life. I never said that, and I never said anything about 9mm gun, I'm going to kill people. But he wrote that and forwarded it to Elmer's, and it's a fake police report that was written by Hamby. There's another one by Amber that's all lies. And then there's another one by one other person I can't think of right top of this second. But my point is, when you're building lies on all these different people that I'm telling you were involved in the murder, then it seems kind of odd that they're the ones also making these police reports. So I just wanted to state that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the police report to Elmer's.
It was to Bill Martine, who's involved in the murder.
What's that?
It's to Bill Martine. He's the one that called the police and said, whatever. The picture I sent you, but that I emailed him this email. It's not true. I never emailed him that.
Bill Martine is.
Well, he's the connection. The way Tiffany knew the killer, Michelle Warden-Brosey, the co-killer. He drove.
Bill is Bill's town car.
Yeah, Bill's town car.
Okay.
And Bill is connected to the murder, and was a plant here at my store, and befriended me, my mom, and he drives hearse, and he works for Rose City Mortuary also, as she did too. He drives hearse, and she dresses dead people, and they have a connection together because she drove his rental cars. Now he told me that, and then I said, "Well, you need to call the police," and he's like, "Well," and then he basically sends his email and has the police come talk to me about it. So all of these people that I'm saying, like Amber wrote stuff and lied, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like she stole my mom's iPad and then lied. That has evidence of the murder possibly on it. And so all of these people that are involved are magically writing police reports that contain incorrect information, and I think that's unfair.
It's also illegal if that's what they're doing. If they're lying, well, incorrect information is one thing. Lying is another. That is,
Well, an example is Amber said that she didn't have my mother's iPad and she didn't know where it was. Well, that's odd because I have the recording from Apple saying she activated it and it was in her name. Now, she's stupid, clearly, because otherwise you wouldn't have activated it. And I'm not putting her down for being that way because I really think she is mental, but it doesn't matter. She stole my mother's iPad and it had evidence and I wanted it. So she tells the police that she has no idea where it was, da-da-da. That's a lie.
Again, I like. When I thought all this happened before Tiffany died.
Well, it came up missing before, but I found out that she did when Tiffany emailed me before she died. And then I finally got through to Apple, where they told me specifically that this was in Amber's name. And I believe that was the 11th of... Well, I kept trying to get the iPad, and then after Tiffany died, it escalated because I believe there's evidence of a murder on there where Tiffany left me written clues about this case. So I went to her house to try to get it, and I banged on her door, and then the door comes open, and then I said, "Tiffany's dead, give me the iPad." And the neighbor said that I said, "You're dead." I didn't say you're dead, I said Tiffany's dead.
Okay.
Big difference, you know, one's me violent and one's not. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that Amber ever accused you of threatening to kill her.
But it's in the police report. It says that I said I was going to kill her. Now, she knows it's wrong, but it has to be corrected because all of these police reports that are written are to build a case of John's violent, John's erratic, John's out of control.
As I said, I think that nobody's particularly interested in you at the present moment.
But I am. I'm interested in fixing it.
I get that.
Yeah. I want it corrected. I know that's not your problem, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, I get that. I don't even know if there's a mechanism to correct that.
If there's not, there needs to be.
Well, that would be something you could take up with the state legislature.
Yeah.
For that matter, what I have suggested to Tiffany's family and may have suggested to you is that one, although it isn't really where you're aiming at with this, but that one of the oddities, definitely oddities of this case, is that Brunel and Robinette and Warden Brosey got light sentences. And they got light sentences because Oregon does not have the crime of accessory after the fact.
Well, wait, they weren't accessories after the fact. They were paid to kill Tiffany, set her up, tracked her, and coerced her by saying they were going to drive her to her hotel, which is kidnapping. Then they drove her and murdered her. None of that was ever told at all. And if you don't have... Go ahead.
Some of that was what went into the conspiracy charge that didn't get through the grand jury. And I don't know what it is because grand jury testimony is secret, so I don't know what they had. But they wanted to charge them with conspiracy, or they did charge them with conspiracy, but the grand jury dropped it.
Well, let me talk to them. I'll be the one talking to the grand jury and see if they accept it.
Well, that's what the grand jury. That was the grand jury after Tiffany died. That's 5 years ago. That grand jury is long gone.
Yeah.
But my point on this, and boy, that derailed it. Let me see if I can get it back. Oh, my point on this is that in many other states, they could also have charged them with accessory after the fact, which they very clearly were.
No, but they're not. If you took the facts, they're not after, they are before. They were paid to murder Tiffany.
Right, but if you can't get them for that, which is what you're trying to get them for, they could have gotten them for accessory after the fact for helping him to the degree that they did. And that's a serious... when I was in law school, in the states I knew, that was a crime. If you're an accessory after the fact to a murder, then you were guilty of the murder. So they could have, I don't know what states, but in states other than here, back in the day at least, they could have fine, so it's not conspiracy, it's murder, as accessory after the fact. But Oregon instead has rolled all that into hindering prosecution and put a maximum 18-month sentence on it. And that, in a murder case, is a clear loophole in the law, which they just drove a truck through, if you know what I mean. And that would have been something that, changing that can't send them to jail again, but changing that can keep it from happening again. That was what I've been trying to say.
Yeah, I understand. But let me just say, okay,
and,
look.
you know, but you're not interested in it, and nobody else seems to have been interested in it either. And it needs to be either you or the family, not me, because it needs to be somebody with an actual strong personal interest in this to ram it through to push it through the legislature.
Sure.
And
well,
and none of you are interested. So okay.
Well, all I want is the truth told, and it's never been told. So if I can get that done, then great. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, well, I don't think you're ever gonna dig to the bottom of whatever. This is like, and again, and I think this is a good place to quit. Actually,
yeah.
This is like what the DA told me and her family, and which you totally disagree with. He was like, sometimes you don't know. And some people are okay to accept that ambiguity, and some people find that really difficult. And you're definitely in the really difficult camp.
Correct.
And proudly there. And
yeah, I just want the truth told.
Like,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
Are like, life is short, and there's and trying to figure out that which I'm never going to know is not the way they want to spend their remaining years.
Well, regardless, and we'll stop at this, but regardless, the truth has never been told, and I want to tell the truth, and also because I've never been allowed to. And then in addition, I want my name cleared. Clearly, if they can't, then so be it. But I'm not going to stop ever, because I have the right to pursue my own justice and happiness, and they're blocking that because they've got me blocked from travel. So, anyways.
Yeah, and that I as I said, I told them that you were unhappy about that, and that I said more than unhappy.
I think they like it when I'm unhappy, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I told them that if they were involved in that it would be nice to cut it out and reverse it, and they said they weren't, and that's,
of course.
I mean, and yeah, well,
the only person
could have been somebody. I mean, it could have been any of a pile of people.
The only person, the what? What?
Could have been any of a pile of people.
The only person that knew I was traveling was her sister, because I invited her to go with me to work on the murder. Not one other person knew, including my mother.
But somebody could have told somebody.
I didn't tell anybody.
No, but her sister could have told somebody.
Oh, so that's true. Yes, that's true. And also, they used the restraining order as the basis for that order to be put. So if you go in terms of the a case in Manila, so that's the problem, is that court has to remove it somehow, and it's not even real. But like I said, $15,000 later, it's still there, so I can't see my family.
I don't get what from the documents you sent me. I don't get what the people in the Philippines. They seem to have a totally erroneous idea of what this restraining order was, and
they are up against Duterte, and it's difficult. They're up against Duterte, and his corruption issues are, if you don't do the right thing, here's what's going to happen. So they're definitely afraid of any incorrect turns in anything they do there.
So actually, you do know, you know the Philippines, so you just explained why they won't budge on an obvious misreading.
Right, they don't have the power to. That America has to do it. But who's America? I can't get it.
And I'm not sure America has the power either. They may say
right.
America does. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways,
anyway, we're not that far in disagreement on that one.
Yeah, it's sad because I can't see my own family, but whatever. Okay, so we'll wrap this up, and I'll send you a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Jiminy